Hi everyone, welcome to the PIK. On today's podcast we've got Alia Coster. Alia is a published writer, communications coach, public speaker, all-round adventurer. You've got an Arctic expedition under your belt, and it's fair to say you're not a lady who's afraid and kind of relishes in the challenge and likes to get stuck in things that you would find uncomfortable.
I'd say so, yeah.
Good stuff. That's so much so that it was 161 days ago you put the stuff into stores you wanted to keep, sold the stuff you didn't want to keep, and donated the other stuff to charity. Is that right?
Yeah, I moved into a van with my dog and we are travelling the world.
Lovely, fantastic. So, and that's your dog G, who is he's not in the studio today, but he is in the van outside.
Yeah, he can't be here. He'll be all over us.
So Leah's stopped off today. You're on your way to Europe.
Yeah, I'm going to go to Europe on Monday.
Fantastic. So yeah, thank you for coming on, and thank you for making the time to stop here before you go on to the next leg of. I've followed you a little bit on Instagram, mostly on Facebook, and you've done some cool stuff. So we'll jump straight in if you're happy to go in.
Sounds good to me.
From what I've seen on Facebook and Insta, life looks pretty cool and pretty free, but it's not always been like that, has it?
Definitely not, no.
No, talk us through that and
so,
childhood and growing up.
That's okay. So growing up, my childhood was not great at all. I mean, a lot of people have gone through their own versions of it. My dad was very abusive. And my mum left when I was a baby, so I had a stepmom and I had two brothers, and it was very kind of isolating because as long as it wasn't her kids as much, she didn't really care, so she just left to it. So I left home, I ran away from home in the middle of the night when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
And I kind of dragged myself up, if you like.
Yeah.
So at first I kind of lived on the streets for a couple of days until one of my friend's mum, she took me in. She's a police officer. So she kind of helped me kind of get away from my dad, take him to court for what he'd done. And then I went into the system almost. So I went into the YMCA when I was kind of 16, 17, did that for a year. So on one half you had a lot of drug abusers, and then the other half you had kind of music students from the academy next door. So I was in Guildford, so I grew up in Surrey. And then kind of went from there really. So I just grew up, kind of got out of everything when I was about 20, 25, 26, but it was quite difficult. I had a lot of dark days in the early days because I was my own parent, so I didn't always make the right decisions. But I would say I'm in a good place now. I think when I got clean when I was at 25, because I had quite a pivotal moment. It was either get clean or go to prison, which I think a lot of people go through.
Yeah.
So I got clean and I just kind of found a new job, went backpacking in Thailand, and I really found my love for kind of travel and adventure.
Yeah.
So then I lived in Australia, moved around a lot, just went travelling, and so kind of fast forward a bit, I got into a bit of a rut 3 years ago with COVID, and kind of 161 days ago I just thought I was sliding backwards a bit, and I just thought fuck it. Oh, sorry.
You're all right. No,
I thought,
fine.
screw it, I'm going to get rid of all the things I don't want. I'm going to move into a van with my dog and just go and live my life. And I think what's really important between now and an older version of me is that I'm not really running away from anything anymore. I'm not kind of escaping. I'm not saying, oh, la, 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 to society, although it deserves it. It's more about me and just kind of living my best life and finding my peace and what's important to me. It's not just avoidance, it's embraced. Does that make sense?
Does, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of embraced the moment. I just want to jump back slightly. So childhood abuse, are we talking physical?
Thankfully never sexual, but it was very, very mental, very physical. So I remember the last time before I left home, which I just thought I'm done. I can't even remember what it was about. So my dad is not a very well man. He's got, now as an adult, I now understand a little bit more about the way he was, and it sucks that as the children we have to be the ones to understand and empathise. But I know he's got severe identity issues, which we can talk about. But he just over sexualized everything, even when I was like a baby. And like I was always not to swear, but I was always a whore in my dad's eyes. Even when I was a kid, I didn't even do anything. He would cut all my hair off. He would like shave it so that boys wouldn't fancy me. There was a time when I was 14, I was in a room with 3 boys, like we were literally watching Leeds play football. There was nothing about it, and this man was going off like, I don't know, there was like a bukkake party or something going on, and he always treated me that way. It was like, I was a 14-year-old kid, I was watching the football.
Wow.
And the last experience I had, he was like throwing me into walls. He was slamming my head into the floor. He would get the lighter out of his pocket, make the lighter hot, and like push it into my face. He was like biting my nose, like pulling my hair out. Savage.
Yeah.
And it was the kind of first real time that my dad had done that to my face, because it was always like my ribs or my bum, like places that would be hidden. And when I looked at myself, like instantly my face was red, I was battered, and I just thought, nah, no more, I'm done. Like, because in the past I didn't really tell many people, and then every time I had, obviously it would get back to my dad, and my dad has this thing about calling me a narcissist, calling me a liar. And when you get told your whole life that you're a liar, it's really hard to battle that, because like everything that you do, like, see, you're lying, like, but I'm not. So you just kind of stop telling people, you just live with it.
Yeah.
And so when I was 14, I tried to kill myself. Obviously I didn't succeed, thankfully I didn't succeed, but even that was just like, I can't even get that right, kind of thing. And then he didn't even come to the hospital to come see me, and then when I come out, he's like, why aren't you talking, like, why aren't you happy, like, come on. And I was just like, whatever. So, you know, the last abuse was really the worst, but it was just a lot of punching, just a lot of like belts, and you kind of, for me, I would know what kind of mood my dad was in when he got home by the way he would shut the door. Because if it just clicked, it was a good day. If it slammed, get under the bed, like, get away, but there's nowhere to go. And he would come straight upstairs, take a right, and come to my room, nowhere else. That was his outlet. I don't know if it was like his boxing class or what, but yeah, it was really, really violent, and sorry, okay, emotionally as well. Like, he just, the things that man would say to me scarred me for life. Like, what was so shaky? I'd get to
okay, it's okay.
No, it's alright. So I got to like 16, and obviously like when I left home, I did like, that's why I got clean. And I realised like it was like for the decade after I left, I kept replaying all the stuff that my dad said to me in my head. It was like a radio station, and it was up to me to change the channel, and that was hard. But he would say things to me, he even says it now, he doesn't know who I am. He's always believed this narrative of who I am, stuck to it, told everybody else. Like, he told people the reason I was asked to leave home, not left home on my own accord, asked to leave home when I was 16 because I was an escort, which wasn't even true. I was still a virgin. Yeah. And it was just like, so he would say to me that I was worthless. He would always say to me that I would amount to nothing, and I'll get back to this. He would say I was amount to nothing. He said that I'd be a prostitute. He said I'd be a drug addict. He'd say all these horrible things. And I remember, because I used to work for him, I started working for him when I was 12. And he used to have like a fish and chip shop. And we were working in the fish and chip van together. And I don't know how old I was. I think maybe 15. And I just remember this time, like, we used to wear these like white polo shirts, and we were in Bramley, we're in a lay-by, and you look over, and it's like the old woods. I think it's like an old abandoned railway track, down to Bournemouth or Brighton or something like that. And we look in, and he stuck this knife in my back, like the tip of it, and he'd be like, do you know what, I could chop you into a million pieces and scatter you over these woods, no one would care, nobody would notice. Wow. And I would grow up with that sense of like just inadequacy, like I wasn't good enough, like nothing I could do and would ever be worthy. And obviously at the time, like, I only got diagnosed with ADHD and autism 2 years ago, and at the time I obviously had undiagnosed ADHD and I didn't know. And so look at, like, a lot of what I talk about today and a lot of what I talk about with people is always very reflective, like back, because I have a better understanding now. But obviously I had ADHD at the time as well, so we struggle with things like self-worth and narrative, and we play and play things in our head. So all these things just constantly, like, mentally I was really screwed up, and it took a long time to get over that. And I think the worst thing for me as a child that I didn't understand was, like, I was a good kid. I worked hard, my grades weren't amazing, but obviously how amazing can your grades be when you've got this at home?
Yeah.
So considering that, I still got a B, a D and 8 C's. I was doing okay. I hated school because I hated life, right? And I didn't want to socialise with anyone because I didn't want to talk about home life. I didn't want to bring friends home. Like, and the ones I did didn't come back again, and you can't blame them for that. So I think, given my circumstances, I was a good kid. And then, so when I left home and I was like 16, 17, I had no adults present. I went out, I got my tongue pierced, I got my belly pierced, I got my first tattoo, I started smoking weed. I was like, screw it, I was good and this still happened. So if I'm going to be good and this happens, why am I going to be good for? So then I started smoking weed, and then I remember going to a party and somebody was just like racking up, and I was like, yeah, I'll try that. I would put myself...
Sorry, just to jump in,
yeah.
It's fine. Because I suppose we talk so much as a society about sexual abuse, that's pretty big at the minute. And it has been for some time, and I think what that does is perhaps puts physical abuse in the shadows a little bit, and it... it's most likely that sexual abuse and physical abuse coexist, if it's happening. But I suppose what I'm asking is the physical abuse, where does that leave someone? Like, and I'm talking about, so outwardly you've spoke about, but inwardly, where does that leave you feeling? And you talked about lack of self-worth, narrative.
I think the mental is worse. Yeah. I think the physical just makes you so a lot of people with dark humour and stuff, I think because it's really bad, but I knew I could take a punch. I felt a bit...
Yeah, you know where it's coming from, you know where it finishes.
Well, I think it's more like I caused trouble, so I used to get in a lot of fights. Because I just think, what are you going to do to me? Like, my dad couldn't do it. Like, if a grown man could do it and I could get back up again, what are you going to do? So I think it would make me a bit stupid in terms of I'd go looking for trouble and not really... assess the danger, really, because thank God it wasn't now. Like, we didn't really play around with knives and stuff back then. But the other side, I don't know. So I'm trying to think. So I don't want to jump around too much. I did get into a few kind of physically violent relationships as well after that. I think because you're used to abuse, you don't know what healthy looks like.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times when you get into physical situations, even with friends, like I've had physically violent friends that as an adult I've had to say, that is not okay, you have to stop that. But you don't really, because people talk about red flags, but you don't really know that the way that people, even the way they grab you or they push you or they're physically, their presence around you, because you have grown up with such a violent father figure or parent figure, whatever, you don't know what healthy is, what good is, what physical boundaries are, that and actually no, you shouldn't be in my space that close, or no, you shouldn't be laying your hands on me in that way. And I think what physical violence does is it coaches you, or not coaches, grooms you, I guess is a better word. Grooms you to allow physical behaviour that isn't okay. That's what I think.
Lowers what you are prepared to tolerate and accept. To a degree, this is okay for me because I suppose
it increases your tolerance.
Absolutely, yeah, that's correct.
Your tolerance.
And you talked about red flags, and I suppose they become commonplace in our lives, in our childhood, and so we don't necessarily spot them, or we spot them.
I think you seek them because it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Because healthy and normal and calm, can be boring. I mean, some people are boring, but you don't know the difference because you're like, if you're not screaming at me and you're not really passionate and you're not blowing up my phone and you're not pushing me around, like, how are you showing me love?
Yeah.
Even though it wasn't love, but that's what you perceive to be love. So like, okay, well, this is what I expect. So you go for people that are a bit vicious and violent, and you think, well, that's okay,
Well, like you said, it's comfortable, and because and I was talking to my partner on the way up here, and I said, I don't know if it was on the way up here, but we were talking, and I said, the past is it was when I did a counselling course, and my tutor said to me, the past is always comfortable because we know how it ends, and hence why we kind of jump into these repetitive relationships, and not just romantic relationships, but with people in our families as well, and we go through that same cycle again and again. And we kind of just accept it and we play it down. Oh, that's just my mum, or that's just my dad.
It's just how they are.
And you mentioned violent relationships, domestic violent relationships that you've been in. And I wanted to ask, how do you feel about them people now?
I don't. I think I've worked through them, but I know I wouldn't go for the same type of person again. It took a long time. It took a real long time, because I think, I don't know what everyone else is like, but what I find difficult is like not understanding. So with my dad, I understand him now, so I can put him in a box and I'd be like, that is just my dad, but not in an enabling way that I allow that behaviour.
Yeah.
It's an acceptance in how I grasp it. But like, so I was dating this guy, Aaron. I won't go on it too much. But he, so I didn't realise he was an alcoholic. And then, so it wasn't drugs, it was alcohol for him. And he gave me a black eye for Valentine's Day because I made this guy a sandwich. And it infringed on his independence. I mean, what do you do with that? Like, where am I supposed to go? And then he was just really guilty over it. And then so there was no closure with him. I just had to get away. And so when I think about him, I don't get it. Like, mental.
I like that. There's no closure, and I suppose just looking at my own experience, when I kind of see stuff in relationships, I go, okay, that's my boundary now. And as much as I want to stay in that relationship because it's perhaps easier to stay in it, it's perhaps comfortable, it's familiar, I have to really have a word with myself and go, no, that's my boundary, and we don't do that anymore because I know how this ends.
Yeah.
So, and I think the sense I think I'm trying to do the other person a favour as well, because I'm not allowing them to grow into that violent person, or just talking it from your perspective.
But that's what enabling does. That's the right thing to do, and it's hard because we're the people that have to stop people's behaviours. And I'm the same, and I find that I do that a lot, and I'm getting a bit sick of being everybody else's corrector, to be honest. But I totally agree with you. Like, I only started really learning boundaries after my last ex. He wasn't physically violent, although I don't like you were saying, where this ends. I think that for me, I did that because it was escalating and escalating and escalating. And the first he was very emotionally and financially abusive. So the first thing this guy ever said to me was, he called me Hitler, and he said I was a control freak and got in my face and tell me that I can't remember what he said, like I'm a dictator, all because my dog was allergic to lamb, and I asked him not to feed the dog lamb, and I went to the toilet, came back down, feeding the dog lamb. I said, come on, man. And then he goes like, oh, again, and got on my face. That was the first thing he did. And then the last thing he said to me was, do you know what, Alia? Everything your dad said about you was right. I think you deserved your childhood. And I was just like,
yeah, that's my boundary.
Done.
Right there.
That's done. And when for me, because I didn't have any boundaries, and I think a lot of people with ADHD struggle with this, is just like, because the ADHD, and I don't want to go down another tangent, but ADHD and narcissism have a lot of similarities. So the first thing in ADHD and narcissism in a relationship is love bombing. We both love bomb, but for very different reasons. Narcissists do it for manipulation and control. We just do it because we're excited. Like, you're our new shiny toy, and we're just like so excited to learn everything about you right now.
Yeah.
But like that enthusiasm, like narcissism, get bored and move on. We don't. We just simmer down, and then we fall into it and relax, and now we can have a healthy relationship. But I kept attracting narcissists, and and it's partially my fault because I had no boundaries, and so I kind of commit to the fact he's going to be the last narcissist I ever date, and that boundary work I've been doing, I've not been able to get past the second date now. Because I get to a point and I just see something and I'm just like, do you know what? No, I'm not comfortable with that. And I think that's okay, but that's really difficult because you almost feel like you're punishing yourself because it's hard to be healthy.
Yeah.
Really hard to be healthy.
And I was going to say, so, and you sound like you've done, or you're doing some work, you're in that process, kind of, that kind of process of finding out what a healthy relationship is. And so, and I suppose for people that are watching as well, and people that have been through similar stuff, what does that look like for you now for a healthy relationship?
I'm not there yet, but I know what it isn't. So I just kind of know what I want and what I don't want, and it doesn't even always have to be dramatically bad. So for my big thing is communication, and it doesn't help that I've got ADHD on one side and then I'm a communications coach on the other, so obviously my standards are probably a little bit higher. But I just know that communication is just a non-negotiable for me to various degrees, and I have a big thing about not feeling seen and heard. And so if I meet somebody that just talks over me too much, or doesn't give me room, or doesn't give the conversation back, and they're quite they take over the conversation a lot, even if they're a good person, I just can't, because I will feel like I cannot exist in that space.
Yeah.
And they're not doing anything wrong, they are just being themselves, and I accept that, but I also accept that I have my needs too. And I heard something really cool from I paid 12 grand for a mindset coach,
right.
because I felt that's how screwed I was, and it really, really helped. I mean, it put me in debt, but it was worth it. And she said to me, like, if you're in any given situation, it's nobody's wrong and nobody's right within reason, within a healthy reason we're talking. But you've got your needs and I've got my needs, and what we're doing right now isn't working. So what can we work on together so that both of our needs are met?
That's good.
I love that. And I always take that into everything I do. And I find like I've nailed my friendships. I've got very healthy relationships now. I've just not quite cracked it with blokes, but that's okay. It's a work in progress.
Yeah.
It's only been 2 years. But yeah, I think a healthy relationship is something where you both have the space to show up as you, because everyone's a bit of an knobhead sometimes. Like, no one's perfect. Yeah. It's like, you've got space to do that in a safe way, but you're not projecting, you're not making it about the other person, but you're taking accountability. So I think it's safety to be yourself. I think it's accountability on both fronts. I think communication, I think those are 3 hallmarks for me of something that's healthy.
Yeah, and it is a process, you know. I'm kind of going through that process myself, and I'd like to think I definitely communicate in a better way, and I speak about stuff straight away rather than let it simmer. And most of the time I realise I'm just a bit mad, but I have to explain that. I'm just a bit mad, get a load of what I'm thinking, and I'm really lucky to have that received, and you know, and it's a 2-way street, you know. So yeah. So some pretty traumatic events in your childhood, and it looks like you're on the other side now, you know, or getting there at least.
Yeah.
And so I suppose, what do you think's been the driving mechanism, you know, and I suppose essentially, you know, to push you and move you away from them situations?
I've always wondered this myself, because I've always been this way. So what was really reflective was, so after COVID, I'm answering a question with something that makes sense, just context.
Okay.
So after COVID, because the child abuse cases went through the roof, I fostered for a year to help out.
Yes.
So to be a foster carer, it takes a year to apply, and it's a really, 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 really intense interrogation to every aspect of your life. So everything that you've done, you've got to come clean about it, you've got to talk about it. And so I passed that, obviously, and had these 2 wonderful boys. But that process for me was really reflective, because you had to talk about every significant relationship, which to be fair, there aren't that many, and everywhere you've lived and everywhere you've worked. And my list was 80. Of those 3 things, 80 places I'd lived, because I'd moved so often, and then I always had more than one job. So that was a big list to go through. So I had to sit there and I had to work backwards, all these dates, all these times. And I've lost track. Remind me of the question. Where I am. Driving mechanism. Thank you. So thank you. So one of the things I'd noticed was actually, even though I'd been through so much abuse and childhood trauma, I had a saving grace where my friends' parents would kind of swoop in and be like, okay, well, summer holidays, you're going to come stay with us. And I worked from a young age as well, so even though when I was in the house it was unbearable, I wasn't actually in the house that much, thank God. So I started working for my dad when I was 12. When I was 15, I had 5 jobs. And then when I was 16, I had 3 jobs in college, and obviously I'd moved out by then. And I think I just kind of developed this working mentality from a young age where just get out of the house. But just get out of the house and do something positive, like save up money, have something to work towards. So I think when I was younger, it was very much a state of survival.
Yes.
And fortunately, I poured all my efforts into work, because I very much could have gone the other way. I could have gone on the dole. I could have just sat around and done loads of drugs and just gone, lived the other side of life. And I'm very, very, very grateful to myself that I didn't. And I do honestly think, unfortunately, my father is one of my biggest drivers, because for somebody to say to me even now, you can't do that, it's like, watch me.
Yeah.
So I think for him to tell me that I was going to be worthless and I was going to be nothing and I was going to make nothing of my life, up until before the van, I was driving around with the Rangy, I had the Rolly, I had the clothes, and I was just like, I've done it. So that was my driver then, but I think my driver now has slightly shifted. So this podcast is coming at a really interesting time because I feel like I'm going into my my next stage of me. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So I think a lot of times I was quite superficially driven, and it was about the money and it was about the house and it was about what can I earn, and that moment for me before 161 days ago when I went into the van, it was kind of like, well, who have I become? Because actually I had another interaction with my dad, and all these things I'd done, he still thought I was worthless, and he still thought I was going to be nothing, or I am nothing, and I was just pointless. And I was just like, what was it for? Like, the one person I was trying to prove wrong
I was just going to say that.
Care.
Was you trying to prove a point?
I was trying to prove a point. And then I was just like, right, well, point proven to me, I can do it. But what have I got? I've got these things, but they're just things. And I just realised I'm not doing any of the things that actually bring me peace. I've got no nature therapy. I'm not going out. I'm not doing the adventures that I love. And I feel like I'm in a place where now I'm living for me. I'm not living to be proving him wrong. So in August this year, I shut all 3 of my businesses down. I still do what I did before for myself. I just don't have any staff anymore. Money, I don't care. I've got my clients. I get paid every month. I don't want for anything, and I'm not naive to think I'm not in a fortunate position, because I am, because I did work hard for it. I do have a good salary, but I'm not doing it for the money. Like, I'm happy with a little basket. Well, I haven't got the basket yet. I've got a bag. I want a basket. Foraging for mushrooms and collecting some mushrooms and making mushroom jerky and going up a mountain and taking my dog off for like 6 hours with no internet. We're just like, where can we get lost? And go and swim in a waterfall. And those things for me are much more valuable than the job, the car, the house. I don't care. I don't even have any plans to come back.
No, it's there's a freedom in that, isn't there? And kind of just not having any plans, just kind of going with the wind, I suppose, would be the phrase. So you touched on the ADHD. Diagnosis 2 years ago.
18 months, 2 years.
18 months. How's that shaped your life since then? Has it made it harder? Has it made things easier?
I think it's given me a better understanding of myself, because the first thing I felt was relief. Because when I got my diagnosis, before that, I just thought I was broken. I thought I couldn't human properly. I thought I couldn't quite get things right, and I would look at other people around me, and I know that comparing yourself to others is not a great thing to do, but we're human, we do it. Like, we look to others like, why is it that you can do this really simple thing, like pay a parking ticket on time, or change your driving licence, or hold 10 conversations with lots of people and not want to hide away in a camp like underneath your duvet for 2 weeks because you're burnt out. And like, why can people just do these normal life things and I can't do it? And so when I got told about the ADHD, and obviously with the autism it's more of a sensory thing, like my emotional regulation, things like that I really struggle with, and hyper focus on certain things. Communication is my train set, if you like. And it just made me kind of really understand, okay, well, this is just the way I am, and it helps me set my boundaries better, because like you said before, I'm just a bit mad. I can now say, okay, I'm just a bit triggered. I'm just a bit overstimulated. And the last few days have been a bit like, I'm not in a great space today, but I know I'll be better. I'm going to go out into nature with my dog. I'm going to go see my friends, and I'm going to recharge, and it's okay, and that's fine. And I know that now, whereas before I wouldn't know I wasn't having a good day, and I would just keep having not good days, and I would burn myself out, because I'm like, why can't you do it? Just do it. And I'd try and force myself, and I'd burn out. And I'd be like, and I would literally spend weeks not being able to move, and I'd just be really just unable to talk, and I'd go mute. And then you've got work and pressure and like your friends, and you just think, I hate myself. Now I don't feel that way.
That burnout, that ADHD burnout, and it is a thing, I've had that. I had a bout recently, actually, and I didn't know what it was until I'd researched it a little bit, and because I don't give my ADHD enough attention. I kind of joke about it, and minimalise it a little bit, and I work a different kind of 12-step program which helps me deal with a lot of it. But that's something, isn't it? It's just, I just remember just not really wanting to engage with anyone, not wanting to be around family. I had to go and take moments and just go and lay down upstairs for a bit, because it, you know, and I think people don't notice, or they don't know about this kind of stuff, that it can be quite, you know, it can really play into lots of different areas of your life.
This is also, especially if you've got a partner as well, because it's very like difficult for your partner, because like, well, is it me? Have I done something? It's like, no, I just don't work right now.
Yes.
And we're just like mobile phones. Sometimes our batteries just drain quicker, and they take a lot longer to recharge. And one of the things that my therapist said to me, like, so I stopped seeing her for a bit. I speak to her every now and then when I get overwhelming moments. We've actually got a session on Wednesday. I was like, make an hour and a half and go see your therapist after. But one of the things that she said, because when I first got my diagnosis, I reeled a bit, and it's almost like, we'll make friends of it, because whenever I was struggling, that'd be the ADHD, and then the ADHD almost became like the fall guy. And it's like, no, well, you've got ADHD, but it's still you. It's just your brain's just wired different. I don't know the science. Like, your brain's wired differently, or you're just chemically a bit different. Like, and it is because of the ADHD, but it's still yourself. Like, it still accepts that it's okay for you to be that way. If you're a bit slower at something because you're feeling a bit more tired today, go and lay down. Yeah. Like, don't try and push yourself through it, or like give yourself a bad time because of it. I had something was it yesterday? I can't remember. It was this week, and there was like a domino effect of things that were triggering me, and I was like a volcano. I just exploded. I erupted, and I was at the person I didn't want to erupt at, and I hung up the phone, and I was just angry. And I had to really just like collect, and in the past, like, that's not okay. Like, I'm not excusing that behaviour. It's not all right in any circumstances. But I had to kind of just give myself a bit of a talking to and a bit of a hug for my own inner child,
just compassion,
and just be like compassion for myself, to be like, okay, what you did wasn't fine, but let's just look about you. Let's review now. So what's happening? These things are troubling. They are upsetting. So of course you're upset. So what would be a better action is to either say, I cannot engage with you right now. I'm very heightened. I just need to relax and come back to it, and then come back to it later, or just say, I'm really triggered right now, I'm sorry, and then continue, and which is what I did. And I should have taken the grape because I erupted again. But and it's that no one's perfect. You're still trying to learn these things.
Trying to get good at it myself. I practice it with, I won't mention them, a particular family individual. Normally I'm really balanced. I go into it and know I'm going to be triggered in some areas. And then recently I didn't do that, and I came off the phone, and I was like, I could have done better there.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's so important.
Or I should have done better there. Do you know? And I tried to say, let's just leave it for now, and it wasn't reciprocated.
This is where a healthy relationship comes in, because healthy boundaries go both ways. Because if somebody is trying to communicate that they cannot communicate with you right now because they are going to react in a certain way, and that person still pushes you, that is on the other person, because you've communicated, and you need to be able to say, even if you've got something to say in that moment, you need to say, okay, write it down, record it. But if that person cannot meet you where you need to be able to walk away and respect that.
And I suppose I definitely have that in some of my relationships, that healthy transactional kind of, I don't know what the word is, but it's transactional. I'm not ready to speak right now. Okay, well, let's pick it up later. And then we can carry on as normal for a bit, and 9 times out of 10 it comes to nothing. Or communicate it in a healthy way. But I suppose at times, and I know this more than anyone, we all fall short. And then it takes me a little while to have some compassion for that person. But I get there, you know, I'm fairly sort of feel quite lucky to have learned what I've learned. And so you did a post a little while ago, because I've done my research, ADHD tax. You might have coined that phrase.
Oh, well, I'm going to.
You might own that, because I've never heard it before.
Yeah.
And when I saw it, and then, so I'll let you explain what ADHD tax is.
Okay, so ADHD tax is literally just the cost of having ADHD that people that don't have ADHD don't have to pay.
Okay.
And anyone that's got ADHD will know this. And somebody said to me, I've never connected the dots. And it's all those things. So it's missing deadlines, so you have to pay a fine. It's, you know, not putting the parking ticket that you actually paid for on the car, so paying a fine, and then forgetting to pay the fine, so then you've got to pay a bigger fine.
Yep.
Or you don't change your driving licence or your whatever in time, and then like it goes and it bounces around, you've got to pay things, and it's so much more expensive to have ADHD than not, because you're constantly paying for just thin air. So I've got 2 parking tickets sat in my van just from this week that I got because I forgot. So both times I got distracted. So I was buying the ticket on my phone, maybe I had a phone call come in, maybe I saw someone, maybe the dog did something, moment's gone. Yeah. And I don't buy the ticket, and that's that. And it's so frustrating, and people will have this in so many different things, they'll and loads of different capacities, but it's expensive to be forgetful. Yeah. And then when I had this debt collector, bailiff, call me the other day. It was quite annoying. And about that, I find I dispute it anyway. But I was like, okay, well, can we go back to the beginning? Because I tried to explain my circumstance. He's like, no, it's too late. And you're just like, you're at kind of 100%, and I'm at the beginning. I don't even know what we're talking about. Yeah. And it's hard. It's really hard. It adds up a lot.
Yeah, when I saw it, I was like, that is a real thing. Like ADHD tax. Bailiffs probably be less sympathetic, but you know, there's definitely a cause for to say, actually, this is part of a disability that I have, and part of that, excuse me, part of that is and I totally relate. You know, I go to put the parking ticket on the car, not necessarily, and then the dog does something, and then the car goes past, and there's a sign on the bus, and then I'm thinking about going to the gym, and you know, and then thinking about what I'm going to do in the gym, and I forgot to pay.
You probably already walked your destination by now. You didn't even notice the journey.
Yeah. And got home and got the letter through. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Okay, fantastic. I think that is, so you heard it here first. ADHD. Second, you put it up first, didn't you?
Yeah. I don't know.
It's yours. It's yours. It's definitely yours. Well, it might be, but we'll take it. ADHD tax is a real thing. So, as we mentioned in the introduction, 161 days ago, you packed up your life, you bought a van, and you're travelling around the UK with your dog called
George, yeah.
George, and so yeah, what inspired you to do that? That's a bold move.
Yeah, well, another symptom of ADHD is not really having the same fear of danger. So I just think, oh, yeah, it sounds like a great idea. But I'd gone kayaking in Norway just before. So the week before, I was in Norway, and I was starting to kind of get back into travel, because after COVID it'd fallen short a little bit. And that's when I was getting really self-reflective. So I was kayaking through the Norwegian fjords, and it was incredible. And I was just thinking, what am I doing? I just do the same dog walk every day. I do the same 8 to 10 hours sat at my desk, and then I watch Netflix. I haven't got a partner. I would like one, but I haven't met the right person yet, so I wouldn't mind so much if I had somebody, because then actually we're building something together. But it's just me, sat in silence in the house. And then every now and then I'll do something that I enjoy. And I just thought I could just live my life just doing things like this, kayaking, going about, mooching. And I got a text from my landlord, and they said, oh, your lease is up in a week. Do you want to renew? No. And I'd been talking about vans with somebody, and I was like, oh, I could just live in a van. And then I got that text, and I was like, that's a sign. And I thought, I'm gone. So it was like a really bad Craig David song. So I came back on the Sunday, found the van on the Monday, bought it on the Tuesday. Most of the stuff had been sold and got rid of by Friday, and then I jacked it on Saturday.
Off you went. So yeah, like I said, I've followed you on Insta and mainly Facebook, and kind of, you've been to some cool places. I saw this massive slide you went on. Is it a big slide in Ireland? Was it
the slide?
It's like this massive structure.
Oh, that was terrifying. I don't know why I do these things. I'm scared of heights.
Was it a slide?
There was a slide on it. Yeah, it's a tower. So you just go up. I can't remember.
It's quite a steep.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I saw that.
I got there and I was like, why do I do this to myself? I don't even like heights.
Yeah. I did see that.
But yeah, so we so obviously I was living in Manchester on and off for about 13 years. So because I was already in the North of England, I thought, well, I'll tell you what I do. Because when I say to people the world, they're like, you're not done the world yet. I was like, haven't you just 6 months in? Give me a break, 5 months, whatever.
Yeah.
So we did Scotland first. which was really cool. Like, I love mountains, but I had a lot of mechanical issues, so kind of didn't do as many because I didn't want to get stuck in the Highlands too much. But the islands there are crazy. Like the Outer Hebrides in the Highlands, you have to go.
Oh, you did Scotland first, didn't you?
I did Scotland
then
first.
You went to Ireland.
Then I went to Ireland, so I did Scotland first. That was really amazing. A lot of people rave about the NC 500. So I don't really like the over commercialised stuff anyway. I always like just going where nobody else is. Like, if I don't see another human for a couple of days, I'm in heaven. So I was like FaceTime my friends or text my friends, that's fine. And then just bliss.
Yeah.
So I like beaches when there's no one else there.
Yeah.
So so I went to the Outer Hebrides. That was probably my favourite spot in Scotland. Then I went to Northern Ireland. Didn't stay there too long. Not a fan of the English in Northern Ireland, so we'll keep that there. Then I went to Ireland, and yes, we just went around Ireland. I spent a couple of months there. So I was there from about August till, well, now really. When did I get back? About 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, I've seen you come back and you've seen some friends.
Yeah, so I was there for a few months. What month were we in? October. Yeah, so August till early October. And it's gorgeous because when I think about Ireland, I just think fields. I just think farmers. I just think flat. But it wasn't. It was gorgeous. They've got really pretty like waterfalls there. They've got really good mountains. The mountains aren't as tall as Scotland, so better for beginners.
Okay.
Because they're not really steep and they're not as scary. So that was good.
So what's next?
Europe.
Europe.
So,
where are you starting?
So I'm driving to Portugal. I'm getting the ferry to the Netherlands. I'm driving down to Portugal over the next week or so. Then I'm going to conquer Portugal first. Conquer's not the right word. I'm gonna visit Portugal first.
It's probably. No, I'm trying to think of a situation where someone's conquered Portugal. Well, it's not.
Yeah, the English do. We'll scrap that from the recording. I'm visiting Portugal first. Then I'm going to go to Spain. These are the ones I really, really, really want to do. So Portugal, Spain, Italy, Croatia, and Greece. And then I'm just going to do the rest, avoiding the scary stuff.
Yeah.
And then who knows? I'd like to go to the States after.
I know we spoke on a call before before the podcast, and you mentioned Africa or the States. I think the States.
I'm going to
cool.
go to the States.
Yeah,
I do want to do Africa, although one of the volatile areas at the moment, so we're not sure. So I'm not gonna talk too much about politics on this, but I think America definitely. I want to get one of those, the yellow school buses.
Yes.
And I do the yellow school bus out, me and G.
And convert it into a lovely. Okay, well, that sounds good. That sounds good. I think G will have more space as well, won't he?
Oh, he'll do zoomies up and down the hallway.
I see a picture of him like asleep under the bed, and I thought surely that dog doesn't live under the bed.
That's his house. Yeah, we're like bunk beds.
Yeah, I did see it. So, you're obviously a fairly driven individual, self-empowered woman. So, what would you say to anyone that's listening or watching, who's kind of been through what you've been and wants to make some dramatic change in their life?
I would say, that's a good question, thank you. I would say a good thing to do is kind of first find out who you are, not for other people, but for you. So a lot of people I speak to, they don't know, they maybe go to the pub, they're a bit bored. Just try everything. Don't be afraid to do it on your own. Try gigs, try comedy. Like, it doesn't have to be expensive. Yeah. There's loads of free stuff on the internet. Climb a mountain, throw yourself in a lake. You're either going to hate it or you're going to love it. Find the things that you really love and just go do it. And it doesn't matter if nobody's coming along for the ride, because I think so many of us, we stay comfortable because of the people we're in, or the relationships that we're in, or the jobs that we're in, because it feels safe. But there's no such thing as safe. Like COVID and the pandemic taught us, that could go tomorrow. Yeah. So I think if somebody told me sooner, because if I'd have found the things that bring me joy, I would have got off drugs a lot quicker.
Yeah.
Because drugs don't bring me joy, they just mask the fact that I'm really upset and in a bad way. But like nothing, like even being home, I've enjoyed. I've had lots of good memories. I've seen lots of good people that I'd love to see. I'm burnt out and I can't wait to run away back to nature, and like that brings me a lot of peace. So I would say find the things that make you happy and go do it. And if the people that you in your life right now aren't those, don't worry, you will find your tribe.
That's nice. I like that. So definitely come back on. When you've been to Europe, we might have to do it a little bit differently. But if you ever come back this way, or come back on, and we'll have a bit of a catch up.
That sounds good to me.
But so that's you can follow Aaliyah on Insta. Remind me of the Van Life with G.
Van Life with G. That's right.
Or Facebook under your name.
Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, my name. So I guess my name will be spelled on the podcast anyway. So. It's probably the easiest way to do it.
So that's it. No, thank you for coming on, and it's been nice.
Thank you for having me. Cheers.
To do something a bit different, But no, thank you. That's it.